All right, guys. So I'm excited about this one because Nick has been in insurance for the past 5 years. So you've done captive, you've been in the brokerage space, you've you've got a few wild stories, and finally ended up here at Prosper. And so I'm excited to hear. I really want to get into the lessons that you've learned over the years and the wisdom you have, the experience you have. You guys are on a frenzy, and you guys are getting some serious momentum. Because you guys hired 30 people last month,
Yeah, yeah. Put in work.
primarily from social media and referrals.
Mhm.
And so let's dive. I'm excited to dive into all that. But first of all, Nick, for those that don't know your story, share a brief backstory about yourself.
Yeah, for sure. So I was one of the kids that actually did go to college. Thought that was the right play. Didn't know what was going on though. I was undecided, trying to figure out what I was doing. One thing I told my parents before graduating was I'm definitely not getting into sales, no matter what, because I hate talking to people. Said that word for word to them. And then I realized that there's not too many high income skills that a kid out of college can do. So got a 9 to 5 in title insurance for real estate, signed a contract. I was going to make $32,500 for the year. And then I was about 4 or 5 months in, and I was going to be able to get a promotion to like 42,000 a year. Couldn't even live in downtown Tampa 5 years ago at that time on that income. Saw on Instagram some kid in college that I knew in college make like 25,000 in a month from life insurance. And I'm like, okay, there's no way this kid is worth 12 times more than me for a year's worth of work. This kid is not smart at all. So I shot him a DM. I was the easiest recruit of all time. I shot him a DM. I'm like, hey, what do you do? He's like, oh, I'm in life insurance. And then I was like, cool, man. How do I join? He's like, do you want to do an interview? I'm like, well, like, is that what I need to join? He's like, you can just take the test. I'm like, cool. Send me the study guide. And that was it. Joined. That was 5 years ago. Was at for around a year. And then I was at for a couple of years, and then Pinnacle since Pinnacle started. So it's been the journey so far,
You've been at all of them. What
everywhere.
what made you decide to eventually plant your flag at Pinnacle and settle down here?
Yep. So biggest thing I realized was there's nothing free in life. Don't get tricked by the whole free lead story. I know more than anyone should know about those kids. Everything you see on Instagram is fake. The lifestyle, the watches. I know the guy that sells the loans for the Globe Life people to buy watches. They all have financed watches. They don't even own any of it. So it's just one example, but everything you see on social media is fake. Don't buy into the hype. Sometimes it's too late to see that. You join it, then you see it in person. And then I more started looking for who's really high level, not just who has what I want. Because nowadays, with financing, credit, fake stuff, you can have anyone and put any kind of facade on social media to have all the things that you want, but who is actually a high level individual and they can actually answer all of your questions themselves in terms of business, personal, relationship, financial, spiritual, physical, who has the actual answers to all your questions in every area that you want to succeed. And then I started looking for that instead. Found a few good mentors along the way, but free leads, couldn't control my business, can't scale a business if I can't control it. Moved over, same thing, was told I can control my business. Somebody made a phone call, moved my downlines from underneath me, and then they were like, yep, you're allowed to do that here. We can do that. I'm like, okay, well, that's not cool. I heard over there at Pinnacle, you got to sign a contract, has to go through multiple hierarchies. Like you have to literally sign off if people want to move your agents. That sounds like somewhere I would want to plant my flag because at that point, I wasn't asking for a whole lot, Jonah. I was like, I mean, where am I somewhat safe from getting my business ripped out from under me? So it
Yeah.
wasn't like I was looking for too much, but also the fact that
Huh?
Joe and Gabe are quality human beings after speaking with them for a while.
I
You
wish I
get
could
to
look
be
at
able
my
to
screen
tell
here. I don't have
who's
a pocket.
Seth, I can hear your voice. I know you're unmuted, so mute up. Um, but you can tell who's quality, who's not. So speaking of Joe and Gabe, going over how they structured the business to make sure that agents are able to make money and move up the hierarchy fast, but also managers don't get squeezed. Some of the biggest problems they saw from a 30,000 foot view and designed their business to make sure that it was able to eliminate as many of those problems as possible. Because what people don't realize was formed years ago. Joe and Gabe were able to do something more recently, which there's obviously pros and cons to being new, but one of the biggest pros is that they were able to see for years in the insurance space what worked and what didn't. And they were able to craft something just from what they knew worked and start that from new. So that definitely helped a ton.
Yeah. and a big everything I do is I think long term. I think where's my business going to be a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And am I building something that actually has equity and then I have true ownership of. And that was a big reason that we came to Pinnacle, not only the leadership from Joe and Gabe and the rest of the talent here, but just the ability where you own the land you're building on, and you're not building towards diminishing returns is huge. That's so important. And some people they kind of just they put their head down and they go, but they're not thinking. They're just thinking week to week, month to month of, all right, where can I get the highest comp, or where can I get this, or who has the free leads, or whatever. But you've got to be thinking strategically, and you have to be thinking as a business owner. What position is it going to put me in, not only today, but also a year, 24, 36 months down the road. And every single one of you on this call, you guys should be thinking, how can I get to $1 million in income as quickly as possible? And there's a lot of people out there that are making a lot of money at a lot of companies, but here at Pinnacle, we have a true path to $1 million in income in 36 months or less. And my dad told me when I got into the industry, he's like, well, if you're going to do this, it's going to be a 10-year run. And in my head, I'm thinking, all right, like I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to work my way up. Hopefully, by the time I'm 30, I'll be making $1 million a year. Luckily, that happened a lot sooner, but that really should be. Obviously, money isn't everything, and you impact and everything else that comes with that. All that stuff is important, but it's a business, and we're here to make money. And so, for all of you guys on this call and all of you guys listening, that should be in the forefront of your mind, because the truth is, $1 million really isn't that much money in today's day and age. When you count inflation, taxes, after you pay your mortgage, car payment, you give some money away to charity, so on and so forth. So if you guys want to make a big impact or be able to give back, provide for your family, live the life that you guys want to live, that really should be the forefront. And you should be having a conversation with myself or your mentors on a game plan and a clear step-by-step path to progression on how to get there. So Milo, I want to dive into just getting a new agent started, going from that zero to $20,000 a month. Because for me as a brand new agent, that was the hardest part for me. And that was where I genuinely struggled the most in this business, where it was, you guys have heard my story about crash my car and took me 3 weeks and $3,000 in leads to get my first sale. And then just from that 0 to 20K was such a grind. From 20K to 100K was genuinely so much easier, because once you pay your first 20K month, again, it's nothing crazy. It's not like, oh, I had this massive month, but what it gives you is it gives you that confidence boost, and it gives you momentum. And those two things right there, as long as you continue to leverage that forward, is so powerful. So talk to some things that you're implementing, Milo, especially in this stage in your business, because you got a ton of new guys and you got a ton of heavy hitters in the office of exactly what you're doing, working with them on a daily basis to get them from that 0 to 20,000 mark.
Yeah, for sure. And then also for anyone recruiting or building a business, just so you guys know, like my favorite recruits and agents are people that have no idea what insurance is and they are brand new.
Yes. Why is that?
Um, They come in with absolutely no idea what they should be saying to actually close deals, or no preconceived ideas of like these lines work, these don't. So whenever I'm training agents, one of the biggest things, I wouldn't call it a pet peeve, it's just something that always comes up, is they always want to change the script to something that feels more comfortable, like when they say it. And I'm like, are we trying to make money or not? We have done millions off of this script, like millions of dollars in insurance off of this script. Pretty sure that you haven't sold insurance before, right? So why is anything that you're saying comfortable? I don't want it to be comfortable. I want it to be correct. And it's going to be comfortable if you say the correct thing enough times. So people
Yes.
seem to be worried about changing anything. The script is correct. We already know that. If you don't think it's correct, ask Jonah what he did his first and second year in insurance by saying those words. And anyone that wants to correct the script, great. Like do 800,000 to a million a month, and no, 800,000 to a million a year in personal production. And then you can write any script you want. It doesn't matter. But do the script the way it's supposed to be said, have that fully memorized, and then we can focus on changing stuff, adding some lines, some dad jokes, all that stuff. But biggest thing for agents and one of my prior companies, the one thing that I would tip my hat to is they made us have the script memorized when we came in. And on our first day, if we didn't have the script memorized, the rest of the new agent group got sent home for 5 days and they came back when they had it memorized. Now, that's not just for people to be mean, and I think we lost some of those standards, not just at Pinnacle in the industry in general. Because telesales, you got the script up on your computer, you can read it off the script. Why does it have to be memorized? This is the reason. Most of the time in the sale, if you hear any top producer on how they figured out how to close or what questions to ask the prospect, they only figured out what questions to ask, what to probe on, or what pain points to pull on based on what the client said. Now, if I don't know what I'm going to say next and I'm a new agent, I am not listening to a single thing the client says. I am simply just shaking, holding the phone like this, looking at the next line, trying to read it, figuring out what to say.
These
So,
guys sound exactly like you're reading a script.
yep. So we need to make sure we have it memorized. If I know equity protection, the intro, the three types of coverage on the home, how to set the table, if I have everything memorized and I say a line and I can actually sit there and think about what the client's asking me or telling me, and then I can say the next line because I'm already ready for it, that's how you guys are going to close deals, right? So, like, tiny example of this when we're in a financial inventory and someone's asking like, all right, any dependents on the home? And then they're just waiting to type something in or like anyone living with you, any kids or anything. Then they're jumping on to the next question. Someone's like, yeah, I have a son. He's here. Like, son? Once I hear they have a son, okay, does he have a wife and kids? Any grandkids yet? Does he live in the same state or out of state? Is he working? Is he dependent on you financially? I can sell just off of that alone. Once they tell me I have a kid, I already know I can sell off of that. So if someone is leaving the house to the kid, that's going to be obviously a bill, right? You're going to either leave him with the whole mortgage balance or at least the monthly mortgage payment until they can get the house sold. Now, it's a lot more painful on the parent if we're going to convey the problem as, hey, you're leaving this monthly mortgage payment to your son, or hey, you're leaving the monthly mortgage payment to your son who lives across the United States, has a wife, two kids, and a mortgage of his own. Which one is going to draw more emotion? That one is by far, right? But if we're so worried about what we're going to say next, and I just find out they have a kid, I'm just trying to get through the worksheet, get through the script, and then spit out three different options, we're not going to pull any emotion. We're not going to close deals. But that all stems back to if we have the script memorized and we know what we're going to say next, we can pay attention to what the prospect is saying. And that's where you guys are going to find all the deals. That, and that's what's going to lead you into building the why, which is a whole nother training in and of itself. But besides that,
Milo, can I add that?
yeah, go ahead.
Because that's so important. Because step one is getting the script memorized, and just as important, if not more importantly, getting the objections memorized. Because every person we talk to is going to give us at least 2 to 3 objections. If they don't give you an objection and they just lay down, it's probably going to charge. Like, that's weird. It's probably going to charge back. So you're getting at least a couple objections. And again, it's not what you say. It's all in how you say it. So if I stutter, if I freeze, if I do anything, I'm going to lose the client. Boom, gone. So even more importantly than the script is making sure you have the rebuttals memorized. And then thirdly, the art of active listening is so important because I hear some agents dial and they have the script memorized. They've got the objections memorized. That's fine, but they're still going through it. And the client will tell them something and they're not even listening. And they're just like, I need to close this client or I'm rolling through it. And, I think I'm ready to Transamerica IU. It's like, you need to slow down. Don't be slow, still be efficient, but you have to be methodical when you're talking to these families and you have to be truly present. And that's why I've never seen a top producer that has their iPad beside them that has golf on or they're watching a basketball game or they're watching something like you have to be 100% present and focused with that family. And you have to learn active listening and then dig deeper. The quality of your conversations is determined by the quality of your questions. So ask intentional questions and then I would write this down. Never ask just like how a lawyer never asks a question they don't know the answer to. Never ask a question you do not know the answer to with these clients. Never do that. So everything I'm doing is super intentional and methodical, guiding them along in the process. And what's interesting is I was listening to a Chris Williams podcast the other day, and they were talking about how the people that are the masters, like truly masters at their craft, whether it's stand-up comedy or public speaking or Michael Jordan when he would go out and play, when you're performing at your best, it's crazy because when you're performing at your best, you remember the least, which is really interesting. And it's all of us is we need to be working incredibly hard to get to that point where it's just we just get into the zone and we're just so locked in and we're so present that it's almost subconscious at that point. Because the speeches, I've made two mistakes with speeches. Number one is not being prepared, and then number two is having every single word memorized, but then thinking about, all right, I'm going to say this next, and then I got to say this, and then I'm going to say this here, and then I'm going to do this. So you have to have it. What I do now is I have all of my bullet points memorized. I've put enough preparation time in. So I've really prepared on the front end. So by the time I go up, I'm so prepared and I'm so relaxed that I'm just in flow state on the stage and I'm 90% there to structure because I don't you don't want to be all over the place. I'm 90% there, but you come as things you're able to flow as things go because not every appointment is going to be the same. So you're able to truly flow with it. The speeches I remember the most, I did the worst. The speeches I remember the least, I did the best just because I went up there and I'm relaxed and you're just in flow state. It's the same thing with the clients on the phones. I remember when I was running in-person appointments, like there were some appointments where I was so present and so locked in and so laser focused that I would look up, it'd be an hour and a half, or I'd get out of the house maybe sometimes 2 hours later. And for a moment in time, I'd forget what time it was, or be like, wait, what day of the week is it? It's like, because that's the level of intent you guys need to have with these families. And it takes reps to get to that point. But having the ability to focus is so important. And social media is so detrimental to that. Anytime I've never seen a top producer, like I could go down the bullpen like today if I had a camera up there and I look. I've never seen a top producer scrolling through Instagram during the day. I've never seen a top producer just on their phone because what happens is when you scroll through Instagram, you get a really big dopamine spike and then you crash way below baseline. And I always wonder, I'm like, what are the things that's going to come back 10, 20, 30 years from now that are going to be that we're okay with now, but in the future, we're going to realize, oh, that's actually really bad for your health. And I think it's going to be social media. Back in the 50s and the 60s, it was cigarettes. You would have doctors on commercials smoking cigarettes saying, yeah, this is healthy, this is fine. And then we realize now how bad cigarettes are. They're coming out with studies that social media is actually, if you spend enough time on social media, it actually deteriorates your brain. So that was why I would physically put my phone across the room before I had agents. I would put my phone across the room and I would dial off of my computer so I wouldn't be on my phone. And I still do this day, or delete all the social media apps off your phone. And so if somebody needed to get a hold of me, I had a MacBook, so I still had my iMessage pulled up so I can text them back. But just having the discipline to simply be able to focus and utilize your brain to the fullest extent. Like if you guys can just do that, you're already better than 90% of agents out there. Yeah, Claudia, we were in a staff meeting yesterday and Claudia's ordering, if you guys have heard it, look up Brick. So it's a little thing that you tap your phone. So if you tap it, it locks all the social media apps off your phone. And when you tap it again, it unlocks it. So we ordered some bricks for the office. So anybody that needs a brick, go find Claudia and she'll brick up your phone. But anyway, Milo, I want to get into let's get into just the new age. Let's stay on the new agent progression of what are some other pitfalls and mistakes that you see brand new agents make within their first 90 days in this business?
Yeah, for sure. There's endless stuff for the new agents. One is going to be hanging out with other new agents. That is the biggest thing I see and the dumbest thing I see by far. New guys
Yes.
will hanging out, spending most of the time with each other because they think, oh, well, the top producers, well, they're busy, they're scary, they're not going to want me sitting in the office. Brother, the more time you spend with me in the beginning, it's going to shorten how much time I actually have to train you to get you self-sufficient. So if you were afraid to come into my office or sit next to me and we're dragging this out 2, 3 months because we're trying to be polite or nice, I'm stuck training you for 3 months when I could have got you to that level in 2 weeks. Be a little bit annoying. This is your business. And also keep in mind, if you're a new agent and you get good and you make money, you make yourself money quicker, you make your manager money quicker, and then you can also hire and train agents, grow your business and grow your upline's business quicker as well. So there's no real bad part about being a little bit annoying in the beginning. What's the worst thing he says is, no, I can't train you right now. Wait until 3 o'clock. But I see all the new guys huddled together just in the corner, not wanting to talk to top producers, especially if they're on another team. Like, go be annoying until you figure out the information you need, and then you can get really good at this business in just 2 or 3 weeks, as long as you actually go for it and try it. But other than that, is people do
Can
so.
I add to that too?
Yeah,
Because
yeah, go for it.
this is so important. And so it's not, am I being annoying or am I not annoying? It's the question I want to implore every single one of you is, what type of agent am I? Because when I was a brand new agent, I was that agent that was not afraid to, I was calling my mentor 10 times a day because I said, hey, you are getting an override off of me. It is your job to help me. Okay. So there is not a, unless your mentor sucks, which we don't really have any of those. Dude, they are incentivized and they want to help you and they want nothing more than to pour into you and see you become successful. But the caveat of that is I want to ask all of you, are you an agent that's worth investing into? Let me ask all of you on this call. Would you invest in a stock that's not performing? No, absolutely not. So it's the same thing with ourselves where are you taking the information you're giving and are you immediately implementing that information? Because from the perspective of a mentor, one of the most frustrating things is when one of us tells an agent to do something two, three, four, 5 times and they don't implement it. Well, then if you're not coachable, you're not implementing the information. It's like, well, you're wasting your time. Or I have, I mean, I was just talking to an agent yesterday and this guy's not in a good financial position and is borderline. It's like, hey, you either need to figure this out or you should go look for another job type of conversation. And the reason that, and it was one of those things where it's frustrating for me to have empathy for them, to be honest with you, because when I was a brand new agent, I was showing up at 7 a.m. and I was staying in the office till 10 p.m. and I was working 7 days a week to figure it out to put myself in a good situation. So this agent's not working weekends. He's showing up at 10 a.m., leaving early, talking to people in the office. It's like, dude, if you're gonna complain about being broke and you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, well, the only person to blame is yourself. And so look in the mirror. So it starts with, am I the type of agent that somebody can pour into and I can take the information immediately apply that. And if that's the case, then dude, bug me, bug Milo, bug your upline. Like those are the people that we want to pour all of our time, effort, and energy into and do everything we can to ensure those people see success and become successful. So didn't want to cut you off, Milo, but I wanted to add to that because that's an important point.
Yeah, no, you're good. I was just going to touch on, I see so many people study so much to pass the exam. And then once they get in to actually being able to write business, that is the last studying that they ever did was that, which makes absolutely no sense because sales is performance based, right? It's fully based on the better you are, the more you get paid. Higher skill set equals higher income, and it is directly correlating. And also, it's no better business when to see that because if you're in corporate and you perform better, you might be up for a promotion in 6 or 12 months, or you might not even be up for a promotion until the guy whose spots you're going to take is going to retire. You might have to perform above your pay grade for 2, 3, 4 years in a row. If you get better at rebuttals, reframes, objection handling, assumptiveness, building the why, you will see a difference in your bank account in 2 or 3 days. Like it is that quick. So when agents aren't hitting the numbers that they want to hit, if their closing rate isn't good, appointments are no showing, and they let that problem persist week after week without seeking mentorship on that specific problem, they should just realize that nothing's going to change. Everyone that performs at a high level in any industry practices more than they play. Any sports team, what is the NFL, like 17 games in a season, and they're practicing 60 to 90 times with also mini camps and stuff on the side. So they're practicing 10 times the amount that they're going to actually play. But you think that if you want to perform at a high level and also make a ton of money just like them, that you can just play all day and not practice? It doesn't make any sense. And if I wish that was how it would work, I would have me and Jonah and everybody would have the biggest agency in the world, just get people hired and then they can run a bunch of sales calls and they'll start writing 80K a month. But it doesn't work like that. So the amount of resources we have compared to when I started, I hit you guys with a back in my day, but literally back in my day, we got Cubicle, Script, go on YouTube and just Google how to sell FEX and figure it out on YouTube. Now Jonah made like a million 2 Minute Tuesdays. I've watched all those a million times. Guess who else watched all those a million times? Damon. Guess who's the number one producer? Damon. Who's also writing more than probably most of the people in here is Simon. I know Simon is watching all those videos every single time. He sits right in front of me. So I see whenever he's eating a meal, he's watching a training. Even after he just wrote 40 or 50K issue paid, I look up meal training video on the screen. I look to my right, agents under 20K are all huddled in a circle talking about something random. So it's not that these guys are that much better than you. They're just that much more consistent than you, and they just care a little bit more. And the good thing for you guys is that doesn't take any actual skill. He's not born with some divine ability. He literally just cares a little bit more, and he's a little bit more consistent. But that is something that you guys can all change literally after this call. It's not that hard. So practicing way more than you play. If that's not already in place, you guys got to fix that right away. If you don't know how to practice, ask your upline or just go to Jonah Lewis YouTube and just rip all those. Also, Discord agent training sections. I lived in that section. When I started at Pinnacle, Discord agent trainings, I watched all of those literally a million times, downloaded them, sent them to my phone. So when I'm driving to the office, I could listen to those. I listened to the Caleb Coombs rebuttal objection training maybe 80 times. And it's even on my website, so all my agents have to watch it too. So when you guys find good training videos, if you plan on building an agency one day, collect all those training videos, put them in a drive, and then when you have a new agent come in, that's going to save you a ton of time. Hey, what should I learn? Hey, watch all these videos. Here's 10 of my favorite training videos I watched. I use those to this day. You'll hear me say those lines in my presentation. We'll save you guys a ton of time in terms of training. But that's the main thing for new training, new agents. Last thing I just want to hit on is you can spend your way through the learning curve in this business. I have seen it done multiple times. If you guys know Owen Santos and Damon Quiles, those are two examples of people that came in, spent their way through the learning curve. There is always a certain number of presentations that you need to do to get good. For everybody, that's going to be a different number. Some people, they do it literally in 4 to 5 prezos. They just have it. And then other people like Colin Mothersole, it's like 100 presentations before you have any clue what's going on. Shout out Colin. But you can spend your way through that because the more leads you buy, the more prospects you're able to talk to, the more prospects you talk to, the more pitches you can do. And the more pitches you do in a condensed amount of time, the faster you're actually going to learn. And it doesn't take a ton of intelligence to learn quick. It's just a ton of exposure. The way you get more exposure is by buying more leads. So people that come in and they have ability to do more lead spend than the average person and don't do it just because it's not the norm is crazy. Damon came in right away, started dropping 2,000 a week on leads. And yeah, he was like breaking even for the first few weeks, but he ran the same amount of presentations month one that people did 5 months into the business, which is why he's only 8 months into insurance right now. And he's the number one in the company because he's probably ran more presentations than people that have been in this space for 3 years. And that's because of spend. So you can spend your way through the learning curve. If you don't have enough to spend, I know multiple testimonials of people that work 2 or 3 jobs on the outside, bartending, waiting, serving on the side to have more lead spend because it's not forever. It's a finite amount of time you have to do that for. Once you hit the number where you do enough presentations where you get a good idea of how to pitch, then you can just run straight insurance. You can even scale lead spend back and write more than you did on higher lead spend just because you're that much better at closing. So those are some of the main things I would do for new agents. Spend your way out of it, practice more than you pitch, stop hanging out with new agents. We're not here to be friends with people. Do that before you get here, outside of when you get here, or when your manager takes you to Top Golf to do some culture building, talk to them there, but not about insurance while you're in the office. They're not going to help you out.
Those are good. I hope you guys are taking notes. Do I have your guys' permission to be direct on this call?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Look around on the Zoom. Look at the Zoom and look at the faces on here. Some of you are not going to be here a year from now. So every single one of you need to make the decision, am I a winner or am I a loser? And the truth is, I have never seen anybody come into this business, truly try their best, do all the right things, show up every day, put in the work, remain coachable, consistent lead spend they haven't worked out. Like it's just we talk back in the day when we joke about, like we didn't have training videos or, hey, we didn't have a script. It's just go in there and close. And we've built out all of these systems for you guys to be successful. So not to be that guy where, hey, back in my day, I biked uphill both ways, but it's never been easier to win. And that should be really reassuring to every single one of you on this call, where we have all the tools, resources, support, everything else. And I want to touch on what Milo said earlier about, and write this down. You get rewarded in public for what you do in private. And so people think that, hey, the work is when I get a client on the phone, I'm presenting. No, that's the easy part. Like closing a deal is ridiculously easy as long as you put in enough work and preparation beforehand. All right. Do I have my carriers organized? Okay. Do I have my script memorized? Do I have the objections memorized? Am I consistently watching training videos after IPA hours, income producing activity hours, before 8 a.m., after 8 p.m., in the car? All of these different things. Am I working on sharpening my sword and perfecting my craft? And the truth is, if you have a consistent lead spend is extremely, extremely forgiving to a low skill set and low inputs. Because if you guys haven't heard this before, another good thing to write down, 25% of the people you call, they're just not going to buy no matter who you are. Damon could call them and try to call, they're just not buyers. Another 25% are the laydowns. They love life insurance. They filled it out. They need it. They want it. Boom, they're the laydowns. And then the 50% of people you call are right in between. They the other 50% of people you present to, it takes proper objection handling, being able to maintain control of the sale, building the why, all those different variables to build enough value for the client to show them, hey, this is going to put you in a better position, and hey, you need this, so on and so forth. Boom, 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 boom. And so if so for somebody that's new, like when I sucked, I was just looking for the 25% of people I could present to that were laydowns with what I was doing. I'm like, I just need to get to those people. And then the more I present and the more I progress and the more reps I get, my skill set develops from there. And so, Milo, I want to transition to a moment and talk about one thing you actually just started doing not too long ago, and it's really taken off, which I have been lacking on. I've been stubbornly refusing, which I'm going to start, is TikTok recruiting. Your TikTok's been getting some good traction. You got a good amount of guys from there. So talk to us about social media posting, how you generate content ideas, and the type of people you're recruiting off that.
Yeah, for sure. And that's another reason why I love this space, man, is lead generation is a lot easier for this in terms of recruiting. We got lucky with some funny guys on social media like Giuliano Massarelli bringing some attention to the space. But you guys all have an advantage where I think every single one of you or anyone with a pulse that can read is just as good as that kid at sales. I know some people did some breakdown of his sales calls recently, but ton of attention and ton of eyeballs on telesales on the life insurance industry right now, which is great for us. And you guys got to think about what your role is as, a recruiter or a team builder. And then just so I know, drop a emoji in the chat if you have an agent. How many people in here are actually managers, have an agent, at least one or two? How many of you am I speaking to directly? A few of you guys? Few? Okay. So one of the biggest things that I want to touch, and then I will get to what he asked me to talk about, which is making TikToks. But when you have an agent that's doing good, your job is to promote that agent when he's doing good, when he's writing higher comp, bump his comp up. Your job is a marketer. One of the worst things I see is people have agents and the agents are popping off doing big months, and the manager is doing everything within their power to not have to give that agent a comp bump because they're protecting their spread. They're like, oh, well, this guy's like my cash cow, I'm making a ton of money off him. I can't bump him up any higher. You need to realize that if you have an agent doing good, your job as an agency owner is to be the marketing department for your company, right? You want to be a business owner, but you just sell insurance. Newsflash, doesn't work. You got to run all facets of the business. So you need to be able to do marketing for your own company. If you have a guy that's doing good, your job as a manager is to market his progression on social media and bump his comp when he needs comp bumps because you should be able to market his success to be able to bring in new agents at a base level comp 70% and have a huge spread on those agents. So you don't need to hold down top producers to keep your 20% when you should be using them and marketing them on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, whatever, to bring in 10, 20, 30 agents at 70. So you're going to make way more money off of brand new agents than you are going to be doing off of veteran producing agents. So make sure you're bumping your guys when they need to get bumped and always marketing to get people on social media. A couple rules for social media I was doing YouTube for a while with fitness, a bunch of different content. Nowadays, the more you post about fully planned out content, I'm talking mic on the shirt, you're reading off a teleprompter, you got your hooks from ChatGPT. None of those perform as well as you just pointing the camera at your face and talking. Those are going to perform a million times better. And I have tested every which way under the sun for this. Once you just pick up the phone and start talking to it and do it in one take or two takes, those will always perform way better. People are sick of content. Lifestyle content, motivational content, really good professional edits peaked in COVID and have been going downhill since then in terms of actual retention from the audience. People are so disconnected from each other and living in a social media world that they're going to be paying way more attention to you messing up or saying a word wrong or doing no jump cuts throughout your video when you're posting it. So that's the style of content you guys all should be aiming to post. You don't know I need to order Rode mics for 300 bucks, get a videographer, wear a nice outfit, go on ChatGPT and then put it on a teleprompter. Those aren't going to perform well. Walk around the office, talk about a few different things, talk about good parts of the industry. So, yeah, think about all the pain points that people you want to hire have, right? They can't go spend time with friends and family because they have work. They have traffic every single day, sometimes 30 minutes, hour and a half because they're driving to the actual office. They can't work from home. Because they can't work from home, what if they have dog, pets, people they care about, people they want to take care of, any of that stuff? Also, pay. They're paid biweekly. We're paid daily. And then we're talking about all the pain points that people hit and how we don't have those experiences over here. Then we're talking about, besides those are enough ideas to get you guys at least a month worth of TikToks right there. What are all the things in this industry that we forget about that are luxuries that people that are working in the corporate world don't have, right? After that, talk about good parts of the industry. All right, own book of business. Calls are 30 minutes to 45 minutes. I'm paid direct deposited in my account 2 to 3 days later. Get mentorship from multimillionaires. I'm surrounded by people that have the same goals and culture as me. My team's jacked and rich. Everyone on my team lifts. I get to work with a bunch of people that just like to work out and make money. What other kid doesn't want to do that? That's awesome. And then besides that, when we're actually also like Chase Lucas, the way he does it is he talks about a lot of the negatives as well. So be open about chargebacks, be open about, hey, you wrote that much AP. How do you actually calculate your commission? And then show your commission after chargebacks and business expenses and be as transparent as you possibly can. Because you're asking somebody, think about what you're asking. You're asking somebody in a comfortable job with benefits, 401k match, and a salary to jump ship and join your business, but you're only going to talk about the pros, or you're not going to go into depth about how you get paid, chargebacks, AP, what it all means. How are you going to get them to commit to something to someone they don't even know and join their business when you're not fully transparent about how it works? It's an impossible ask. So that's why people like Chase, and when I switch my content to more of that style, people like me are having more success getting new guys because they can go through our videos and have a really good idea of like, okay, well, this is what's good. This is what's bad. Those are the numbers that equate to that income. Here's a couple of videos of actual sales, what they're saying on the phone. There's a day to day. All right, I have a really good idea of what life looks like as an insurance agent. I feel way more confident now taking that jump, right? So that's what we need to be conveying to people on social media. Other than that, you guys need to have some sort of funnel to convert these leads, right? We're posting videos. Videos are your ads. That's the top, that's your funnel, right? The video is the ad. And then we're looking for inbound messages. We could do outbound messages if we want to. I get a lot of inbound from TikToks. I want you guys to know that in the messaging section in TikTok, Instagram, wherever it is, nothing good happens in that section. We want to get them from messaging to an interview in the least amount of words possible. Just like I tell all my guys, like nothing good happens after 10 p.m. I'm sleeping, nothing good happens. You're either watching something bad, eating some shit food, doing nothing good, doom scrolling. Nothing good happens after 10 p.m. Nothing good happens in messaging when you're recruiting. I'm sending one message right away whenever I get an inquiry of, yep, great question, man. I have openings tomorrow at 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock. What time are you free for a call? I'm treating them all like a lead. I'm not saying anything over messaging and going back and forth. It's a waste of your time, waste of their time. If they're serious, this is their first qualification. They send you a message they're interested, respond with, "Hey man, great to meet you. I actually have a time open tomorrow at this time or this time. What works better for you?" If they hop on the call, they were actually interested. If not, they wouldn't have showed on the call. They weren't a high quality recruit anyway. But I see way too many people like, "Hey, I'm trying to recruit this guy." Like, look, and I can just scroll through their messages. Like, what the heck are we doing? One message, book them on the recruiting call, get them on there. That's it. But in terms of content, TikTok, you guys need to be posting it just like it's Snapchat. If you use Snapchat back in the day, like Snapchat stories, two, three, four posts a day. You need to absolutely flood it with anything. I put up a TikTok of Simon scrolling through a car website looking at Lamborghinis for 8 seconds. It got like 30,000 views, 100 something comments, and like 10 interviews just from that. Anything you guys do on a daily basis, insurance or non-insurance related, like I'm about to make TikToks about how I order meal preps to the office so I can work more, and then I'll post TikTok about wrote this deal, it equated to this, here's the actual deposit it paid me, and then I'll post another TikTok about, hey, the team's all in the gym together on Saturday working out. I even posted a picture, a video of like AJ's tattoo. People are just getting to know my team, what we do inside the office, outside of the office, everybody's personality. It is the most viewed TikTok. And it's almost like a really authentic reality TV show. You know, like when people meet celebrities and they're like, feel like they know that person already, they're comfortable with them. Like I have no idea who any of these people on TikTok are, but they have a really good idea on who I am, what I care about, my values, how I run my business, what I make, what my agents are like, and what the day-to-day looks like. And really, when they have that understanding, they're going to have no problem shooting you a message like, hey, I either fit here or I don't. And then also it saves you time because if they don't fit your lifestyle and the way you operate, you don't want them on your team anyway. Like if you're just posting a couple of wins, nothing about your personality, you have agents come on, they might not match with you at all. You guys might like complete opposite things and you are just absolutely like hating your life every time you see a text or call from them or when you have to run a training with them. You have the power to only hire and work with the people you want to work with, but you're going to have a much more enjoyable time when you're filtering your interview process by letting people know on social media, like, yo, this is who I am, how I am, my personality. Reach out to me if you want to work. Most of those people reaching out will already be somewhat of a good fit.
That was good. That was really good. Yeah, that was recruiting one on one. So, guys, few other things before we wrap up this call because we're out of time. Do not forget the Asian incentive this month, and also drop some love for Milo. Drop an emoji in the chat if you took value from this call. This was a straight masterclass. But before we go, before I forget, don't forget the agent incentive this month is we're giving out a trans and a Foresters bonus. Top one producer with trans and Foresters each gets $1,000. Second producer with each carrier gets 500, and then third producer with each carrier gets 250. So guys, let's make it a week. Reach out if y'all need anything. God bless.